All right, so starting off with YouTube, let's look at daily revenue here. You can see this is where my IO Games video blew up, and that's what really kicked off my channel. Gained around 45,000 subs in over 2 weeks or so. But now let's look at monthly, and you can see my monthly revenue. Typically, depends on what videos do well and stuff, how many videos I post, but usually making around $500 to $1,000 per month from ad revenue, and made a total of 11,000 over the course of this entire last year since the last video I made about financial stuff. Okay, next up, Udemy here. You can see I made 40,000. This was my biggest earner for sure. Typically making around 2,500-ish to, I guess 4,000 would be kind of the average, 25 to 4,000. Yeah, pretty good. And we can look at the individual courses. So stylized flat color course, 7,000. That took me about 8 hours to make, I think. Retro style FPS course, 12,000. This took me about 100 hours to make, and retro 3D graphics being my best seller, 20,000. And this one took me about 16 hours to make. So pretty good return on investment with the time put in. Now this shows you what percent or what chunk of sales were from my promotions versus like people organically finding them on Udemy versus Udemy actively promoting them. So you can see nearly all my sales were my promotions, which is good because if I promote it, I get 97% of the sales revenue. If it's organic through Udemy, I get 50%. And if they promote it, I only get like 25%. All right, now for Steam, you can see total revenue, 5,700-ish. Now that is pretty sure that's before taxes and before Steam takes their cut. After taxes, it's 4,700 about. And then after Steam takes their cut, it was about 3,300 about dollars. So yeah, it's okay. You know, it's money. It's pretty decent, but it's definitely not my main earner right now. And you can look down here, my games, they are biggest seller, which it is the best commercial game I've released, so that makes sense. And I have promoted it more than any other game. Star Prey I made in 1 week. It's an okay game. It's nothing too exciting. And then Intersection was my first commercial game, which I made when I wasn't very good at making games, so it makes sense that it didn't sell as much. And you can see that I did get a decent amount of sales on Mac and Linux, about the same amount really, which is interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'd say that, it's worth it to publish on those platforms if it's easy, if your engine makes it easy to do that. All right, Patreon, you can see pretty steady growth throughout the year. I did receive a one-time donation of $1,000, which was pretty cool, but otherwise, all my growth being about $100 increase per month. And that's because I've been working on my game Rock Flesh and uploading demos of it onto my Patreon and heavily promoting that on my devlogs of it. So you can see the last 2 months here, there's been no growth, and that's because I did not upload any devlogs in that time. So Patreon, pretty good. If you're working on a cool game, I definitely recommend putting demos of your game on here and heavily promoting it. I just do $5 a month backing tier, and that's it, and lots of people back me for that. And my total for Patreon for the past 12 months has been $5,043. I also did some streaming on Twitch, mostly over the course of 2 months. I was doing about 4 hours a day, and you can see I had about 40 viewers or so average, 40, 50 at the start, and then I was getting around 70 to 80 towards the end, and made a total of 345 from subs and ads, mostly Prime subs. That was the biggest one. So yeah, it's a decent extra amount of money, I guess. Now for Itch, I mostly just made like tip money, basically. People would give me a little bit of money when I released free games and stuff or assets. I was kind of curious why they were giving me money because, I don't know, I thought maybe it was because I was putting source code on my games or something. So I did a poll over on Twitter and asked why people gave money to free games on Itch. And a lot of them said to support small devs and not because of the source code, so I guess I won't put source code on my games anymore. But some people mentioned it was so they could add it to their library. You can't do that, I guess. I guess there's a desktop app or something for Itch, forget what it was. Yeah, itch has a library, and you can't add it if the game's free or something, or if you don't pay for it. So convenience, I guess. But yeah, total income for itch was 584 for the past year. I think that's total after they take their 10% cut. And yeah, I guess that was it. That's all the money I've made through all these sources. I guess also I made a couple thousand from the stimulus check, but yeah. So total income the past 12 months, about 60,000. My calendar year for last year was only about 42,000. So slower start at the beginning of the year. I had to pay $9,000 in taxes, so I was able to write off a lot of things as business expenses, like new computer and sound equipment I got. So in conclusion, I would recommend, if you're a smaller game developer, Udemy, definitely, combined with YouTube as promoting, and Patreon if you're working on a big game. Those are great ways to have an income and supplement the income. And yeah, so hope this video was helpful.